Because you don't get a girl pregnant and then act all weird about it. So I'm going to leave the baby on his doorstep. I don't care. Call the cops. I don't care. You don't get someone pregnant and then act all weird about it. You owe me. You don't get me pregnant and leave. You owe me. I guess I'm going to still search for my family. If he doesn't want to be a family with us, I'll just search. The search will go on. The search will go on.
Can we talk about the epidemic of men who sleep with women who clearly are not all there in the head? And if we're being real, taking advantage of them. The clip that I shared is by a woman named Tracey Barbie, who is notorious for the past probably decade on the internet of being known as being a very eccentric, erratic young woman who might have the mentality or mental state of a woman that is much younger than her actual age, if you catch my drift. If you search her name up on the internet or even on YouTube, there are hundreds of videos in the millions of views of her back on the Dr. Phil show when she was a teen. She was on Catfish as being the catfish. Clips of her social medias of her willingly sharing with us her day-to-day life. And you can tell that she's somebody who has signs of some sort of cluster B. And I'm just going to play a clip to the side here of the plethora of men that she has been with, who she claims are all her boyfriends, but we know for a fact that these men do not hold that title for her. Much older men taking advantage of a very young woman who is not like-minded. Now, my focus on this video will not be about Tracy Barbie, but more so men who take advantage of young women who have some sort of mental disorder and or are extremely stunted mentally. Overall, women that these men should not be playing around with, but they do for their own self-pleasures. And yes, I called it an epidemic because it really is. There are a lot of young women in this country, teenagers, young adults, who suffer from some sort of mental disorder, a cluster B. It could be BPD, a borderline, bipolar, schizophrenia, histrionic. There are a plethora of personality disorders that a lot of young women suffer with. And on the same hand, despite it being very obvious to most people, you don't need a diagnosis to tell. There are plenty of grown men who see that, and instead of leaving these women alone, they take advantage of these women. These young girls are hypersexual, they're seeking love, they probably come from families of abandonment, some sort of trauma sexually, and I am not saying that people, or women in this case, who suffer from personality disorders don't deserve to be loved, don't deserve intimacy or relationships. Of course they do. They actually need it the most. But these men are not providing that for them. Far from that. They're objectifying them, taking advantage, and getting easy play and easy drip, and then discarding these women. They are discarding these women who they already know are delusional, who think that they're in love with these men, who assume that these men love them back. These women who make it clear and obvious that they're seeking love, they're seeking a family that they don't have. They're searching for something that these men are leading them on. And then like in Tracy Barbie's case, when these young women fall pregnant, they want to claim that they were tricked. These men claim that they were tricked, that they were with a crazy woman, they're trapped. No. When you willingly put your ding-dong in a woman who is crazy, who you know is not mentally all there, who you know shouldn't be doing these activities with you, but you as a fully grown man who isn't in her mental state of mind or aware of the dynamic, took advantage, had unprotected you-know-what with her, she gets pregnant, and then you discard her? And we're supposed to feel bad for these guys who do this? Tracy Barbie is just one of millions of young women who go through this on a daily basis. All of these teen moms, all these very young 19, 20, 21, even 21 woman-year-old women who fall pregnant with these much older men. There is an unfair, unequal, very immorally unbalanced circumstance that is occurring in those cases. We can claim that it is two consenting adults, except we understand as a society that some adults cannot truly give full consent. But an adult with a moral compass would say, I want to take advantage of this individual. Similar to how if a very old person gets a call, a scammer, or a person who asks them for their bank account, you could argue, well, that old man or that old woman, she's a consenting adult. But we understand that her mental state is not equal or is not all there to fully give consent or to understand the dynamic here. So the same way we can understand that a very old lady did not truly consent to giving a stranger her routing number, we can also understand that a young woman who is not all there in the head does not fully consent to be taken advantage of by a man who is misleading her about his intentions. And it is wrong regardless of a person's state of mind, right? But at least we can argue that with two consenting adults who are equal mentally, there is discernment, there is a choice, there is a decision. This person was somewhat aware of the dynamic. You can't say the same with people like Tracy Barbie or women like her. And once again, you do not need an official diagnosis to tell when a person may not be in the same level mentally as their peers. It is still wrong, but it will be one thing if men like this just slept with these women and left them alone. But that is not the case. These men expose these women to STDs and STIs, get these women pregnant, and then dip. And then you have a child born in an environment with a mother who is evidently not really ready to be a mother at any point in time due to her mental state. A lot of these women don't really have actual homes, lack of family support. They don't have consistent jobs. Many of these women live vicariously through the men they are currently dating and couch hopping. So you bring these babies into this type of environment and then the cycle repeats. And one day I'll make a video about nature versus nurture when it comes to mental health issues, which is the argument of, are people born the way they are, or is it their environment that manifests issues within them? And in many cases, when young children have dysfunctional mothers and absentee fathers, they're more likely to not finish school, to be behind with their development, to have some sort of disability, disorder, many things that we see over and over again in these types of environments. And if you know my content on TikTok and now YouTube, you will know that I'm a huge advocate for women holding accountability for their own actions, especially when you bring children into said environment. But there is an exception, and we need to have grace to women who are not in the same state as all of us are. And I'm talking about the state up there. They do not have the discernment. They do not have the mental skill sets. They do not see reality as we see it. They can't make the best decisions. And I'm going to keep on arguing that the biggest enemy for women who struggle with mental health issues are men. Because the ones who take the most advantage of these women are men who want to objectify them, use their body, and then discard them when they're at their most vulnerable state.